Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Post Show and Tell with Dr. Ken.
Welcome to Post Show and Tell with Dr. Ken. I'm Joz Wang, your host, and this is my guest co-host.
Hi, my name is Dino-Ray Ramos. I'm an entertainment journalist and podcaster.
This episode, DK and the Dishwasher, there's a lot going on. Tell us about
Yeah,
it.
there is a lot going on. First of all, Ken's mom's out of town, goes to Korea. Dad comes in, tries to take over the household, becomes man of the house, buys a dishwasher, this fancy dishwasher before Ken could install his. Ken gets mad, sabotages the whole thing, and it's just not a good visit with the dad.
and Tokyo Medical Group.
Oh, okay, girl, I love these people. So Damona gets a little bit drunk.
At an office.
Yeah, not just like a regular getting drunk at work, like as we all do. Gets drunk and hooks up with someone. Yeah, can you guess who it is? Hooks up with Pat, and then Julie gets her first hangover ever. So, like you said, there's a lot going on in this episode, like a lot to take in, and it's all funny.
We got to talk about the drunkenness.
Okay.
I bet you have drunken stories to tell.
I do have. Well, thank you for asking. I no longer drink. I mean, it's been about 12 years since I've had a sip of the alcohol, but as everyone does, most people do, on their 21st birthday was probably my most memorable drunken adventure ever. I mean, it was just because it was my 21st birthday. I mean, it's not like I wasn't drinking before that, but this was like, oh my God, I'm legal. I could drink everything now. So I was at this Mexican restaurant, and it was like a 2 for Tuesdays deal. So it was like a 2 for 1. People were bringing me like margaritas 2 at a time. I was drinking them, throwing them back, and washing it down with a taco. And I ended up drinking. I ended up drinking like 12 of them. And maybe even more, I don't remember, and I was wearing a sombrero at one point, I don't know. And then we decided to go to a pool hall after, where the drinks continued, the festivities and the fun continued, and I ended up doing a Britney Spears, the Britney Spears dance to Oops, I Did It Again, just because that was like really hot at the time, so that kind of shows my age and where I am in life. Yeah, and I did it not for like, I specifically did it for the waitress, like no one else. I was like, oh, girl, this is what I could do. So, yeah, and then like, what made it worse was like the next day I had a big presentation to do I was supposed to do this big presentation. Obviously, I was so hungover. Hungover can't even explain how I was. It was horrific. It was like hell nested in my body and multiplied. Little hells. I don't know. Because in the middle of the night, I remember rolling over and throwing up on the ground and then just going back to sleep. It was, and make matters worse, you know what? My friends filmed me. There's documentation of this. I kept the tape. It might show up on YouTube one day, so look out for it. Yeah. So what? So wait. What about did you have a like wild 21st birthday like that?
For me, like I'm not really a drinker, and I did not have a wild 21st birthday. But I had a situation at work where there was a lot of drinking. So I had a job where we basically did stuff with the Grammys, and the Grammys are shot here in LA. It's like you show up at 3 p.m. to start taping because they tape it early for the East Coast. So you show up at 3 o'clock, and we had a corporate suite where the drinks were free, and we were all drinking very freely at like 3 p.m. The show's like 4 hours long, and then there's an after party where there's more drinking. So I did my fair share of drinking, but I still somehow stayed somewhat sober. And the executives that were there, though, they were totally just gone. And so by the time the after party was over, like they couldn't remember how to get back into their limo. So this is back before the day of cell phones.
How to get back in their limo?
Yeah, because they didn't know where their limo was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they didn't know how to call a driver. So I'm going through people's stuff. Like it turned out to be the girlfriend of one of my bosses had a card in her purse. But I'm like going through everybody's pockets and things, trying to figure out how to get them into their limo. And in the end, I found a payphone, got them set to go back to the hotel.
Payphone.
Yeah, I know, that's how long ago it was. And in the end, they had no idea how they got home. But it was like the least drunk of us all, and I was actually fairly drunk.
Yes, and that was work related too.
Yes,
I never got drunk at work though, so. But
So, I don't know, but it's hard, right? Because if you're like not really a drinker or like me who don't really get drunk, it really sucks to be that person who is more sober when the rest of the folks are already passed out.
I mean, it sucks, but it's good at the same time, just because you feel like you hate being around that, but at the same time they're gonna regret that in the morning, and I'm gonna feel really good.
I don't know if I'm that judgy.
I am. I'm all, you guys are gonna feel it in the morning, and I'm gonna be up and at 'em, and you guys are gonna be just sitting there throwing up or whatever. So the one thing I really liked about this episode, I really enjoyed, is that when Ken and his dad are going head to head, like they're having this macho dude off, this kind of power struggle in the house, because he's basically trying to kind of take over his role as man of the house.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally relate to like having a family member try to one up you.
Mm-hmm.
I think like, I don't know, for me, Asian household, you get compared to your cousins who are like age all the time. And I don't know that maybe the cousins are trying to one up you, but maybe sometimes there are some people who are just like a little bit better at certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was really not a good piano player, and that was like always one is like, oh, this so and so can play, you know, Tchaikovsky's whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I'm on chopsticks,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whatever. But I mean, like that's like, it's really interesting that they start talking about like the power dynamic between the dad and Dr. Ken. Your podcast, Off-White, it talks about power dynamics a lot. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Off-White it's basically, I host a podcast called Off-White, and it's a panel of three people, four including me. I kind of moderate the whole situation, where it's two people of color, or like someone in the LGBT community, or a woman, and then there's always one straight white straight white male who kind of is in the position of power, you know.
Do you call it that?
I jokingly call it that, because it's like my sister made a good point. They're like, is that the constant or is that the variable? And I'm like, I think that would be the constant, because that's what that's kind of what society is. Well, it's slowly changing, but that's what we set the standard to. It's the standard. So I jokingly call it the position of power, because, you know, they aren't as oppressed. The white straight male is not oppressed, let's face it.
Not in Hollywood.
Not in Hollywood. Yeah. And then we talk about minorities and their portrayal in media and entertainment, like in Dr. Ken, or in like shows like Fresh Off the Boat, or even just like in my last episode, we talked about like Star Wars and like the female lead, and John Boyega playing like kind of the controversy he caused because he was a black stormtrooper, and I'm like, oh, who cares? They're in outer space. Everyone's a freaking alien.
Well, I mean, like, I think there is a new consciousness about diversity. I mean, it's really definitely a hot topic right now in Hollywood. And I think your podcast is great because you're talking about it in a way that's really from kind of like an organic place.
Yeah.
Because you have not just your position of power dude, but you also have the other two people who sometimes they're comedians, but there are always people who are
in the business. They're in the business. Yeah. They're some of them are in the business. I've had like a really interesting mix. Each episode is kind of its like own thing. There's like a different tone. I've had a trans person on there before. You know, I've had, you know, this black comedian who's really outspoken, and then I had like a Latina comedian who's very soft spoken. And it's a really good mix of people. I've had filmmakers and producers, and even the lead singer of the group All For One came on, Delius Kennedy. He came on and talked about his experiences in music and all that kind of stuff.
Do you find that the person in the position of power feels threatened when they're kind of even jokingly put in that position?
A lot of them are they know what they're in for, basically, because they already know in that situation they're pretty much the minority, quote unquote. The last episode, I think it was just a vibe I was getting, because I felt like the guest was feeling a little bit uncomfortable, but I think that was just him being, you know, shy, or like kind of trying to get used to, you know, a new environment. I mean, like we're all on the radio or whatever, on air, so I think he was just trying to get used to it. But I don't think they feel threatened. I think they need to be in the conversation. A lot of the times when minorities talk about these issues, we're talking to ourselves. We need to bring in everyone, include everyone in the conversation. Otherwise, it's kind of like we're just preaching to the chorus. Speaking of positions of power, we are so glad that we have you here today. We had the opportunity to talk to one of the most oppressed minority groups, vegans, on the set of Dr. Ken.
So we had some viewer comments come in.
Okay.
I know you've been warned about this, but we had some viewer comments come
I've been
in.
warned. There's a viewer comment, but I don't know what it is. So I'm excited.
So, and it was directed specifically at you, about you as an actor, actually, or you as a person.
Okay.
So, regarding your lifestyle, is actually a little bit controversial in places like here in LA and in big cities.
Mm-hmm.
Not controversial, but
Do you mean the gay thing?
no. Can you talk about the vegan thing?
That's super controversial, right?
I know.
I know. Gay is like, oh, whatever. But like the vegan thing, I know. Talk about the vegan thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what I always say is, can I curse on?
You
this
can
thing?
curse on
So,
this.
What I always say is, I'm a vegan, but I'm not an asshole. And what I mean by that is, like, I feel very strongly about my veganism and what I do. I've been a vegan for 21 years, so I mean, this isn't like a new thing for me at all. But I definitely try to stay out of what other people eat, which I think is where some vegans can really make veganism unattractive to the world around them, because we are a passionate lot, but it can get a little preachy, and I think what you put in your mouth is an extremely personal decision, and so you need to decide what works best for you. It's tricky when I travel. That's like, I forget about that because I live in LA, and like a box of farm fresh produce comes to my house once a week and I cook it and eat it. You know, I did something in Alaska a few years ago, and I was like talking to the hotel kitchen, like, here's what we need to do. We're gonna take a head of broccoli. We're gonna take one potato. No, don't rub anything on it. Here's the, okay, stop, wait, just water. That's just, you know, so it's, but it's getting more mainstream.
Are there any annoying questions, or are there questions that people ask you that you think are really annoying, or maybe
The questions don't bother me. You know, what I always say is, like, do you really want to know? Because you know, I have a lot of information about particularly the agricultural community and how things are, how the food that we eat is produced. And I know that there's problems with the fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds that we produce too, but there's such enormous ethical problems that I have with what they do with animals. And so when people ask me, well, why? It's like, do you really want to know this? Because once I will tell you, but you have to make sure you want to know. What bugs me more is when people do the, like, well, I ate some today you would hate, or, like, you know, like, people feel sort of compelled to comment about, like, oh, well, I just ate a buffalo. How do you feel about that, vegan? And it's like, I mean, I didn't need to know. Like, so that's all.
So that question came from Justin in Houston.
Hi, Justin. Is Justin a vegan as well?
I don't know.
Is Justin struggling with his vegan identity?
I think he's vegetarian and not vegan.
That's okay. Listen, you do what works for you, Justin, in Houston.
In this episode, the office hookup between Damona and Pat.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, I think it's funny, like, when it's not happening around me. Like, I just cannot get on board with office romances. I mean, it just doesn't appeal to me.
Well, it's awkward for you on the outside, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've had coworkers who have dated each other, but it wasn't like anything big. And, like, they kept it very discreet. Not like discreet where it was like, oh, we hate each other. Everyone knew that they were going out. It's just like it wasn't a big deal. And then I've had, like, moments where I've heard stories, but they were, like, just really lame stories, like, oh, they used to go out, now they're broken up, and that was the end of it. Like, I've never experienced, like, a hook up in the office, like, around me. I will never do it. I cannot I spend enough time with those motherfuckers. I do not need to be hooking up with any of them. Like, you're already attached to them in some capacity.
Yeah.
You do not want to be attached to them literally or in any other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what the appeal is there. Have you hooked up?
I have not hooked up with a coworker. Well, only kind of, but we won't talk about that right now.
Oh,
No,
that's for after dark.
No. I had a love affair with my dear Eric, but other than that, no, I have not hooked up with an office coworker.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I don't judge, you know, and I think you can.
I do.
But I think you can find love anywhere. Like, you can certainly love. Hooking up, I think, is just a bad idea. If that's all you're doing, like, not cool, right? But that's, you know, that's not in the realm of my reality. You know, so I don't know. Like, I don't want to be so judgy. So I'm really curious as, like, how this storyline plays out, because they didn't really resolve it in this particular episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. It plays well. I mean, but, like, office romances, I mean, the show The Office, when Jim and Pam finally hooked up, I mean, I'm not saying the show went downhill, but it was just, like, not, the mystery wasn't there anymore, you know? But that's a whole totally different story, because they were in love. They just didn't hook up. But just, like, I just cannot, I don't even know if I have friends that have hooked up with each other, or, like, with people at the office.
I mean, I definitely know.
Really? Well, has it happened at work? Really?
Yeah.
Like during work, like in the bathroom?
Well, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Or in like a closet, or?
Yeah. Well, I also worked at a place where people were like doing drugs and crazy things at work. Yeah.
Where are you working, girl?
Yeah, we're not talking about that right now. But seriously, I mean, like, I mean, but you know, like, kind of later on in, like, a more corporate environment, definitely, there definitely been marriages that came out of, like, an office romance.
Well,
multiple.
That's good though.
Yeah.
But hooking up is a totally different thing.
No, I agree.
Well, no, even dating. I wouldn't do with the dating thing either.
Well, I mean, I think now is a good time to ask our audience, not about who they're dating.
Or who you're hooking up with. Keep that to yourself.
But, you know, we haven't asked our audience in a while what questions that they have for the cast and crew. So I think this is a good time. If you have anything that you want us to ask the cast and crew the next time we're on set, please let us know in the comments. Email us, tweet us at Postshow and Tell. Like us, subscribe us, do all that fun stuff. And thank you so much, Dino, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We will see you next time.